Welcome back, another episode of Hockey Weekly. I'm your host, Tyler Lizotte, with Brendan Paulu. Brendan, how are you doing?
Good. It was a little bit of a quieter weekend in terms of the hockey, but it's nice to kind of, refresh and recharge after we're going to have a busy weekend next week coming up.
Yeah, it was nice to have a bit of a break from Caribou hockey, as the only team in action this weekend was the U17 AAA Caribou Cougars. They were in Okanagan. U18s, U15s, and the Caps had a break here this weekend. And a really good time as the Teddy Bear Toss was in action Saturday for the for the Prince George Cougars, and a lot of the players got to go out and see that and enjoy the fun. And let's start off with that. How was the Teddy Bear Toss from the press booth there?
Well, it was a slow start for the Cougars. They found themselves down 2-0 against Kamloops, and then you got that one-time shot goal by Carson Carls, which essentially opened up the floodgates, and the Teddy Bears flooded the ice right afterwards, and it led to basically we're at the point of the period with about 5 minutes left. They just did a fresh flood of the ice, got all the Bears cleaned, and then just tacked on the last 5 minutes of the first period onto the next period. So you had the rest of the period and then the second right after. But the Cougars fighting right back to a 6-3 win. They were down 3-2 at one point, but the Cougars putting in an overdrive, and their best players needed to be their best players, and they were. Even though Ravensbrücken gave up 3, made a couple of saves to keep it close for them at times. Hunter Lang, the first star of the game, 2 goals, one of his better performances of the year. Cohen Ziemer, another clutch performance, and the Cougars looking a lot better on Saturday despite the slow start. Close shave on Friday where they got outplayed against Regina. Regina put up a very valiant effort against Prince George on the Friday. Luckily, PG was able to skate away with the 4-2 victory. Ravensbrücken the first star in that game, and it's only December. I kind of thought they were 2 must-win games, or at least must-haves, given the way they were playing at the time. And they got 4 points. They're back in first place, and Victoria, not so good of a weekend for them. They lost both games at home to Kelowna. So or Prince George rather, back in the 2 seed in the Western Conference. Victoria slipping back to number 5, and all is right with the world with the Cougars winning their last 2 home games of 2024.
Yeah, very well said. And granted, the defensive zone was pretty hard to watch with Regina in town, as Regina really had a lot of momentum, a lot of shots on the cycle, and you saw a really good rebound game for really the whole team around, especially defense the next night there with Kamloops coming in for the Teddy Bear Toss. And after a bit of a slow start in the first, it was just safe to say once Carson Carls put that beautiful shot into the net to make the Teddy Bears rain, everyone kicked into gear and put on a show for the 6,000 fans there in the CN Center.
And that's what you need. You need your veteran core that's been here for 3 to 4 seasons now, and you need them to take over these types of games. When you're playing teams lower in the standings like the Cougars have been over the past couple of weeks, you have to make a statement at home, especially against these teams that are either out of the playoffs or quote-unquote bubble teams, if you will. After stumbling, in Alberta, to a man, you knew the Cougars had to at least somewhat deliver on home ice, and it wasn't always pretty. It was challenging at times, but they eventually pulled through, and 4 big points in the bank. They've got a handful of games on the road before they call it quits for the Christmas break. Riley Heidt will depart for the Team Canada National Selection Camp here, which starts Wednesday in Ottawa on the 10th. So hoping Riley ends up making that squad over the holidays. So we'll see how Riley does there. He's the only Prince George Cougar, of course, representing Canada in that camp. Not the only Northerner, as the other player with Northern ties is McBride product and Saskatoon Blades defenseman Tanner Mollendijk. He's one of 10 defensemen invited to that camp. You remember last year he actually made it, and then in the pre-competition games got injured and was forced to withdraw. So a chance for him to secure his spot one more time, and a chance at redemption for Tanner Mollendijk.
Yeah, and for Tanner, it's really cool. He's going to have this opportunity again to crack the squad, and he's had a really good year so far with Saskatoon, and being a year older, he's going to be, I think, a sure lock to make that team again, as he brings a lot of good qualities. His skating is very elite. He's got a really good read of the ice. He moves the puck well. He's an all situations type of defenseman too, and I feel like on the open ice there at the World Juniors, he's going to be one of those guys that's going to be very serviceable for Team Canada, and I'm very excited to see how he does.
Yeah, and with it being in Ottawa in front of the home crowd and all that, it's going to make for a very electric atmosphere. And for Tanner Molendyk, a golden opportunity for him to do that. And I think one thing too to also note in terms of players that were invited, we saw Braden Yeager on the list. He was on the team last year. He got dealt to the Lethbridge Hurricanes early last week in a blockbuster deal that involved both the Warriors and the Hurricanes. As it turned out, the Warriors and Hurricanes were playing each other in southern Alberta when the trade went down, so all they had to do was switch locker rooms of players involved and then play the next night. So just one of those oddities in the schedule where kind of some weirdness to it, if you will, but you see some movement here a month before the trade deadline with another piece falling in Braden Yeager, and then you got the Cougars making another trade today, Corbin Vaughn from the Regina Pats in exchange for Ephraim McNutt and a second-round pick going the other way. Some mixed reactions to this deal so far, but Vaughn, a hard-hitting physical defenseman with some offensive firepower in that arsenal. He won't be asked to play that role here, but some much-needed grit on the back end and maybe answering one of those questions.
Yeah, I mean, when you break down this deal, before this happened, I mean, we've been talking about it, Brendan, you, me, and David, and just the talk around the rink. This Prince George Cougars team has had a really hard time winning those board battles in their own zone and defending the front of the net and defending the lanes. And I think a big part of that is they have a lot of puck-moving defensemen, and they have two up-and-coming young defensemen in Arseny Anisimov and Carson Karls, who have looked very, very good for the team. But, you know, if McNutt, who we know has been out for a while, he's a very similar player to those two, right? And we have a lot of puck-moving guys on the Cougars roster this year. It's going to be very nice to, as much as it's hard to move on from a guy like McNutt, who had a really good start to the year for the Cougars and has been a welcomed presence in the locker room for this Cougars roster last couple of seasons. You're going to bring in a guy that is going to bring what we've really wanted to see from this team, is someone that's going to be able to, play hard on the walls, shut guys down, come in on the zone entry, and really have that nastiness to his game that's going to really change the game on the back end for the Cougars.
And McNutt was physical as well, maybe not quite to the extent or the way that Corbin Vaughn is. I know Vaughn's been maybe on the wrong side of the law a few times from the WHL's discipline committee having some suspensions. So be very interested to see what the approach is with him and Jim Playfair. Jim, of course, wanting his defensemen to be tough, physical, good coverage in the zone. So it'll be interesting to see how those two personalities mesh, knowing that he's, Corbin's kind of on the WHL radar in terms of, how he plays each and every night, given what's happened a couple times to him, and just how Jim is going to bring the best out of him while keeping some of those talents in his toolbox and not try and take that away from him. Like, he's going to have to ride a bit of a line, given his rap sheet, but I think this is going to be a challenge that both Vaughn and Jim Playfair, I think, are going to enjoy here.
Well, I couldn't agree more, and it takes me back to a couple seasons ago where, albeit it wasn't a defenseman, but where Mark Lem went and picked up Jackson Weeb from the Edmonton Oil Kings. It was a player that they needed to come bring that physicality and just bring that presence that strikes some fear into the opponents. And come playoff time, that's a very valuable thing you want in a player. And very quickly, like a Jackson Weeb, he made himself a fan favorite here in Prince George with how he played. And I think there's a really good opportunity now for Corbin Vaughn to do the same thing here this season.
And I think the one thing, too, that flies under the radar in this deal is that Vaughn is an 06 birth date, McNutt's an 05. McNutt obviously had a chance statistically to come back here next year as a 20, but you kind of get that extra year with Corbin where you might not have with Ephraim McNutt. So that's just something, one of those under-the-radar details in this trade that might not get noticed here, at least right off the start, but something that's a good move. And based on what they shipped out, they still have more than enough assets to take a run at a bigger name come the deadline, whether that's a top six forward or a Sawyer Minio or a Tanner Molendyk or whomever, because you would think, that this still shapes them up in that position to take another run at an A-list player here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really, I mean, the second round pick, it seemed like a fair price to go a little bit younger and to maybe bring in a player that probably had a lot of interest from a few teams in contending positions. And so I don't think Mark Lamb's quite done yet. I'm sure we're going to see a few moves coming in. And I know there's a lot of names floating around, and there's a lot of teams that are going to be probably looking to shake things up as, you know, the Memorial Cup's going to be hosted in Kelowna next season. So there's a really good chance whoever makes the league final next year, if they get past Kelowna, is going to have a chance to make it into the Memorial Cup here in Kelowna next season.
And speaking of the Rockets, they'll likely be sellers at the deadline because they need more assets in terms of the draft capital and, you know, younger bodies coming in. I think what makes the decision even easier for them is that Tisha Ginla's out for the year due to hip surgery. So you have Andrew Crystal and Caden Price, who will likely be taking a lot of calls between now and early January. And I don't know about you, but I think they get quite the haul for both players.
Yeah, I think both players right now are among the top in the league for their respective positions, and Crystal and Price. And you know, a few conversations I've had around the rink over the last couple of weeks, it seems like there's not a lot of big names available right now, so it's a competitive trade market for the teams that are looking to buy, and it's going to be a very exciting time to watch if you're a Cougars fan right now, to see which names get circulated around the Cougars and which names eventually do end up being acquired by Mark Lamb.
And there are some teams that haven't really decided if they're going to be buyers or sellers yet. You know, you have Saskatoon top of the Eastern Conference. A lot of people would say they're overachieving, and that might be true, but you know, they could stand pat, not make any moves, and go forward again with the group they got, or they could make the tough decision and make a couple of big deals and restock a lot of the draft capital that they traded away the last couple the winters.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I know I've heard that, you know, Tanner Molendyk, they are taking offers for him right now, and I'm sure, given as you said, you know, they're playing it excellent right now, and you know, right now is kind of where you'd start to see a team that had a hot start and maybe overachieving start to kind of slow down a little bit, come back down to earth as we're almost at the Christmas mark, but they really haven't, and they're playing excellent hockey right now. But that also doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to hold on to Tanner Molendyk, given it's very likely he might go play in the NHL or maybe even for Nashville next season.
Yeah, and of course, even going closer down the road here, you know, Kamloops was in town. You know, they're kind of scrapping away for those 7th and 8th spots in the Western Conference. They're kind of in a unique position too, and I say that because even though they're still in transition, thing that a lot of people don't know is that they already have 3 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks for next year already. So they're kind of in an advantageous position, even though they're lower in the standings. They can keep Finney, they can keep Jordan Keller, they can keep what they've got, and get in to one of those lower spots and give a team a run for their money. Or they could trade a guy like Finney or Keller or whomever that might be desirable among fellow general managers and acquire more draft capital.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting spot, and I know another name I've heard possibly is maybe Harrison Brunicki, where, you know, he's out right now, and I mean, he is 18, but he's very highly coveted right now by the Pittsburgh Penguins, as he was just drafted in the summer, one of the final defensemen to be cut ahead of the regular season as well. So, I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see what direction they take with him. I mean, you know, he's a darn good defenseman, and I really feel like, you know, if a team's willing to pay a premium, I think Kamloops might entertain it.
Yeah, a lot of big names that could be up on the market here between now and January 10th, as you mentioned. Flipping the page here, Kootenay International Junior Hockey League, Quesnel River Rush, 3 out of 4 points over the weekend. Winning on Friday against Chase, and then falling in a shootout against the Heat. So 3 out of 4 points there. Williams Lake Mustangs splitting a pair of road games, losing on Friday to Revelstoke, and then winning 5-3 the next night against another opponent in the interior there. So while Quesnel and Williams Lake might be 4th and 5th in that Doug Burke's division, you take a look at the teams top to bottom, and it was the Storm that the Mustangs beat in Kamloops on the Saturday. You know, there's only 10 points that separate 1 through 5, but both these two teams that we've seen on many occasions, very, very competitive night in and night out.
Yeah, I mean it's been really good hockey there in the KIJHL, and it really feels like the Quesnel River Rush and the Williams Lake Mustangs specifically are, in a sense, pioneering a bit of a new direction of hockey for the KIJHL. Is they have a reputation as a league for being a very like physical and very rough brand of hockey, but these are two teams that, yeah, they can play rough, they can play tough to hang in there with the more established organizations in their divisions, but they're also boasting a lot of skill. I mean, Asher Lucas has been phenomenal for Williams Lake, as well as Kalen Swanson. Logan Hauk's been really good for them since joining them midway through last month. And you look over at Quesnel, Isaiah Bagri has continued his point production that he had here with the Caribou Cougars this last season. And so it's really cool to see that that league is starting to elevate their development of skilled players, not just your physical body bruising style of play.
Yeah, and they got that one other guy from the Niverville Nighthawks from the MJHL a couple of days ago, and in his first game with the River Rush, he scores a hat trick. So, there's talent being found that's going to the KIJHL. They are of junior A status. They're still Tier 2, but them, like the Pacific Junior, looking to go Tier 1 next year, and could, and I think it's already opened up a lot of doors for a lot of BC-born players to stay maybe a bit closer to home, get a bit more ice time, and play a similar caliber of hockey that's pretty decent.
Yeah, I mean I know we've gone to 3 games in person now this season. I know me and David for sure, and it has been very entertaining hockey. And for me, I'd seen highlights of the KIJHL over the years. I've had friends over the years that have gone to play in the leagues, and people that I know that I've watched play for the Caribou Cougars go play in those leagues. But we were thoroughly entertained at every single game we've gone to, and there is a lot of skill in that league, and I feel like in a lot of ways it's still an underrated league right now, and I think very soon you're going to see a lot more notoriety coming to the KIJHL.
Yeah, I remember when it was Junior B, when I covered the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, a lot of the SJ rosters would scout and sign players from the KI quite often because the caliber of player you were getting and the caliber of play that it was, even though it was Junior B, was very similar to what you saw in the SJHL and the MJHL, and hence why you kind of saw, I don't want to say a rating of rosters, but quite a few players signing in the prairies from those leagues. You're not going to see that as much anymore, obviously, with the restructuring of the Junior A cycle, of course. But the KI has been a very respected league amongst a lot of circles for a very long time.
Yeah, it certainly has. And Brendan, what are we looking at for our Northern Athlete update?
Well, this week, we've got Spokane Chiefs forward and Prince George product, Chase Harrington. Chase, of course, off to a red-hot start this year with Spokane, who's won 9 in a row up in the upper echelon of the ultra-competitive Western Conference standings. Chase, of course, unfortunately, unfortunately for some of the local programs here, going the academy route instead of staying at home. That's, of course, becoming a popular choice for a lot of players these days. But Chase off to a good start, thriving under new Chiefs head coach Brad Lauer, as his fellow Prince George product, Smith Redmond. Of course, he'll be on next week's show. But Chase Harrington is our guest in this week's episode of Hockey North Weekly. And here's my chat with Chase Harrington. Welcome back to Hockey North Weekly. With me now, Prince George product and Spokane Chiefs second year forward, Chase Harrington. Chase, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Well, Chase, Spokane Chiefs off to a pretty good start throughout the first third of the season, almost nearing the first half marker now. Mark of 18-9, 0-0 on the year, good enough for a 4th spot in the Western Conference. And in that ultra-competitive U.S. division, which involves Tri-City, Everett, Portland, just to name a few. And Chase, you're up to 19 points on the season, well surpassing last year's point total. What's been the difference so far between this year and last year for you?
Maybe more confidence, a lot more confidence, opportunity. Just trying to find ice, find quiet space on the ice, get lots of chances, look for my teammates. So yeah, more opportunity probably.
Mhm. And how much of that increased opportunity comes with maybe the added confidence of going through it now for a season, having a summer to prepare and make the necessary adjustments? What were some of the biggest eye openers for you in your rookie season that you had to make a mental note of so that you could take that next step this year?
Maybe like getting better away from the puck. I feel like coming into last year, I tried to have the puck on my stick like the whole shift, like make plays. But this year, like a lot of give and go, get it, make a play, go into open ice. So yeah, just maybe less puck touches.
Has that maybe helped slow the game down or simplified the game for you?
For sure. Last year, tried to like maybe beat a guy one on one when I could just pass and jump by him or pass, stop up and get like a good scoring opportunity instead of just trying to take it myself. So learn from that.
Last year you played the Cougars in the first round of the playoffs that didn't have the result you wanted. This group, which was a very young group last year, has taken another step, which is fourth in the conference, as I mentioned. Um, just maybe touch on the added confidence that the group has this year and just that you're further in development, but between this group where everything just seems a little bit more in sync.
Yeah, I think played together a little bit more. So like we all have been playing together for like a year or so. We have really good young players that came in this year with like Preston and Essler and Allen. Our older guys developed really well over the summers, Cat and Banel, Ekstrom. So everything's kind of just cooking together for us.
Yeah, you've got a lot of weapons up front. How nice is it to play on a team that has the ability to turn it on offensively at any time?
Yeah, it's super nice being able to, give guys passes and they'll make plays and stuff like that. You can kind of give and go hockey, you get the puck back, like just players who can make all our forwards can make really skilled plays. So it's pretty easy playing with them.
What's the excitement like around the Chiefs right now? I know that, option number one in terms of sports is Gonzaga in terms of the NCAA, but what's the buzz around your team around town in the city?
Yeah, I think we have like the highest fans this year. So like we have the best fans. Like we're getting 5,000 people on a Wednesday. So we're really able to use that for the games. Like I think playing against a team that has like 1,500 people on a Wednesday versus us when we have 5,000, and it's like huge difference like with energy in the building, and we're able to use it to build during the game.
And I was just going to say, how much of that does it give you an emotional lift knowing that the rink is pretty full, even on a midweek night where for a lot of teams it's a tougher draw. Do you almost feel like mentally, you're up a goal or you have some momentum as soon as you hit the ice because you have a big crowd and your fans are pretty passionate?
Oh, for sure, it helps tons. Like if you score a goal in the first 2 minutes and then the crowd is just bumping like every chance you get, you like people are screaming and stuff. Like it helps so much. Like every hit, like the crowd just erupts. So it definitely helps for sure.
Yeah. You're in that ultra competitive U.S. division, as I noted. Everett's at the top. Tri-City's having a pretty good year. They're slightly above you right now in the standings, and then you have Portland, a bit of a retooling for year for them, even though they're above 500. Then Wenatchee and Seattle. Just touch on that U.S. division as a whole, where there's really no easy nights on the bingo card, and you have a lot of talent pretty much right across the board.
Yeah, it's tough for sure having to go against these teams every night. I think it definitely makes us better as a team for sure. When we're playing against top end teams in the league every single night. So just use it for us and as confidence like if we can beat teams, then we can beat any other teams. So yeah.
Um, yeah, Spokane made a coaching change over the summer. You had Ryan Smith in your first year. You had him as a call-up at a 15-year-old. The organization elected to hire Brad Lauer. What has he brought behind the bench to your team to help further develop this group along?
I think just NHL experience, like a lot. Well, he's been a coach forever. He's got the highest win percentage in WHL history. So, like, he knows how to win. He knows what it takes. He's coach with the best coaches of all time in the NHL. So he has learned a lot from them, and he's just kind of using it with us, and it's yeah, he's been really good.
Yeah. What can you take from a guy like that, and what has he told you in particular in terms of how to get to that next level?
I think maybe just playing like a team game, like he says, he's talked to like the top end players in the world and getting pucked back. That's what they focus on, and then success comes from that.
I lost your audio for a bit there. Can you repeat that?
Oh yeah. Uh Talks a lot about like if you're not playing well, you're not just getting positive minutes on the ice, like getting pucks in and getting pucks out, that kind of leads to success.
Yeah. Um, favorite road city.
Oh, that's tough. I like going to Prince George, obviously. I have a lot of family there, but probably playing in probably Everett. They have really good fans. Pretty electric in there.
Yeah. Is that your favorite road arena, or do you have another one?
Favorite road arena. I like playing there. Yeah, I think Tri Cities is a close second. We have a good rivalry going there, so pretty good fans over there too.
Yeah. Um, Obviously, you grew up through the Prince George Minor Hockey Association system. You got a good relationship with another draft eligible player that's expected to go very high this year, and Cameron Schmidt, who plays just up north of you with the Vancouver Giants. Just touch on some of your minor hockey memories going up in Prince George, and when did you feel that you had a chance to play at a major junior level?
Like some of the memories, just on the outdoor rink with my friends like Schmitty and hanging out with them, being on the team with them for so many years. Like hotels, road trips, always a blast. Bus trips. But I think when I realized I could play major junior, maybe the end of the last like my second year Pee Wee season when I moved over to Delta, kind of found out about the draft and stuff like that, and like had realized I had a chance to get drafted.
Yeah. You are draft eligible by the looks of things. And for 2026, you're a late birthday, so you have the chance, unlike a lot of players, to play 3 seasons of major junior before uh, getting drafted into the NHL. How much do you feel that added year can make you that much more seasoned, that much more polished, uh, heading into something like that?
It's huge, obviously. An extra 68 games over everyone else to like grow my game, learn from others, learn from my coaches. So yeah, it's helpful for sure.
Mhm. Um, Taking a look at your stats on the season, 5 goals, 14 assists, 19 points, 27 games so far. Your stat line was, 6 and 16 the year before, so you're only 4 points away from eclipsing your rookie total from last year. When it comes to your game specifically, you always found yourself to be more of a playmaker.
A little bit of both. Like I think it varied through the years. Like depends on my teammates and stuff like that. Like if I have a lot of good playmakers on my team or I have a lot of good goal scorers, it can definitely vary for sure.
Mhm. Who do you try and model your game after?
Uh, I watch a lot of guys. I like to watch Matthews with the way he can shoot. I like to watch Ryan Hart, like the way he can find quiet ice, find open ice. Yeah, just I watch a lot of guys.
Yeah. And did you have any specific team or players that you watched growing up as the list kind of changed or differed? You talked about Hartman and Matthews, but when you're kind of going through like the minor hockey ranks was there any certain player or team that you had to watch?
I was a big Canucks fan growing up, me and my dad, so watched them a lot. But for players, probably Ovechkin. Watched him. He's my favorite player growing up. So
Yeah. Uh, as I'm sure you and everybody else is well aware that the landscape of junior hockey is changing with now the NCAA and Western Hockey League rulings where eligibility now goes both ways. What's that been like? What's the reaction been like, not only amongst your teammates, but also guys that you know around the league about this whole thing now where uh, the pool of players both ways has pretty much been blown wide open, and there's, a few more options for players like yourself now than what there was just a month ago.
Yeah, I think it's really good. It should be able to advance player development a lot. I know I have 20-year-olds in my team that are going to play NCAA next year, so I think it's awesome. I don't see anything wrong with it. Pretty happy with it.
You have any pregame meals or pregame superstitions that you have to do before going out to the rink on a game night?
Yeah, I'm pretty superstitious. I got a whole routine kind of planned out from time I get to the rink, but just spaghetti, meatballs before the game. Same thing every game. I like to have a routine. Helps me get in the zone.
Yep. Is there any what are some of the things you like to do away from the rink when you have an off day? Do you like to are you an outdoorsy type of person? Do you like video games? What's kind of what's kind of an off ice activity that you enjoy to kind of take your mind off hockey every now and again?
I like to go watch movies with my friends, movie theaters, go watch movies in someone's basement or something like that. I golf a little bit, so yeah, I do that too. There's a golf simulator by my house that we go to, so have fun there.
Yeah. Is there any spots around town that you and your teammates like to go to on an off day?
Maybe just the mall downtown by the rink. We usually go there a lot. We got a movie theater. It's got lots of nice stores, so yeah, go there.
Yeah. Do you get recognized a lot? By people. Maybe not have the same type of fabric as a Canadian city might, but do you find that there's a pretty good following for the Chiefs, even when you have an off day and you're out and about with some of your teammates?
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes you get recognized, like at the mall or if we're going out to eat or something. It's pretty cool. I think it's good that people are caring about us and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah. When we take a look at your team throughout the season, we talked about the division, Everett, Tri-City, all that stuff. But how far do you think that this team can go this year?
I honestly think we have a chance to win it all. Like I always believe that. I think that we beat the best teams in the league. We beat Everett. We beat all these guys. Like I think the only team in the way is us.
Yeah. We talked about that, and you also have Dawson Cowan, who is your starting goalie coming back, 19-year-old. You talked about Essler coming onto the scene as a first-year rookie, but is it nice to have that mix of youth and experience in between the pipes, where you have the veteran coming back and a guy like Essler who's very highly rated to learn behind him for a year or two?
Yeah, it's awesome. Like they've both been unreal this year. DC has been being he's been unreal in the net. Like he's one of the best goalies in the league. And Essler, he's paving his own way too, learning from DC in practices and stuff like that. So yeah, it's awesome to have them.
Yeah, Cowan, 14-6 on the year,
Mhm.
2.899 save percentage. So obviously you play that up tempo style, so you can often win, a game 6-3, 5-4, things like that. But that also means some high quality chances against, and based on the numbers, your goalies have been there for you.
Yeah, for sure. We like to have those kind of games where we can end up scoring a bunch of goals and maybe we have some stuff to work on, like with our turnovers and stuff like that. And if we make mistakes, he's always there to back us up.
How contagious do you think confidence can be? Obviously, you had that taste for playoffs last year with the Cougars. Uh, there was a light, of course, at the end of the tunnel in terms of your rebuild situation. Now you go into this year where you're off to the hot start. You've been a lot more consistent. You've kind of got everybody feeling good about themselves, and does it make everything that much more fun when you come to the rink, you're winning, and you're kind of in that cycle where you're trending upwards instead of a team where you kind of had your run, the window's closed, and you have to start at zero again.
Yeah, I think it's definitely more fun to come to the rink like knowing that like we have a super like bright future. So everyone's pretty happy. Everyone's excited. Everyone's just coming to the rink trying to get better, trying to win games. So it's pretty fun.
Yeah. I'll ask you a question here. I've asked this a few times during some of our rinkside chats to other places we've been in some of the other episodes. But if you were stranded on an island with three of your teammates, who would you pick and why?
That's a tough one. Maybe Mathis Preston because he's always laughing. He's pretty funny, so him to keep me entertained. Maybe Cowan. He's pretty good, like outdoorsy guy, so I'll bring him. And I got one more.
Yeah.
Probably. I'll go Berkeley. Yeah, he's a pretty good buddy of mine, so that'd be fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us on the podcast today, Chase. And good luck the rest of the season. And maybe we'll do this again sometime.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Of course. That was our interview with Chase Harrington. And Chase, of course, like his buddy Smith Redmond, fellow Prince George product, enjoying career seasons with the Spokane Chiefs. And that was not the only major junior exposure we saw from a lot of our Northerners this weekend. We saw Ryan Richter filling in for the Prince George Cougars for a suspended William Kometz on Friday against Regina. Limited shifts for Ryan, but he was in there. Jackson Dicker backing up for the Seattle Thunderbirds as Scott Ratzlaff is about to depart for Team Canada's camp in Ottawa. And of course, Andrick Ligas on Saturday. The e-bug for the Kamloops Blazers as Dylan Ernst did not make the trip for Kamloops in that late game. Logan Edmonstone was the starter, but Ligas backing up as well. So there you have it. A lot of Caribou content here to look at here over the weekend.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, the only Caribou team that we mentioned in action this past weekend was the U17s. They were in Okanagan playing the Rockets, and the Okanagan Rockets get the best of the Caribou Cats in back-to-back games. So a bit of a long bus ride back here for the U17s. So they should be arriving here at Kim 1 shortly. And Brendan, what are we looking at for this weekend?
Lots of hockey coming up in the BCHL. Prince George Spruce Kings, after splitting a pair of road games this weekend, of course, on the island, winning in Victoria, losing in Cowichan Valley. 2 games against the Langley Rivermen Friday and Saturday. You've got the 7 o'clock puck drop at Copar, then you got the drop the mitts at Saskatoon, 6 p.m. At downtown Prince George as well. And lots more hockey on the way, especially for the local teams here. You got the Caribou U17s and U15s on home ice this weekend, and the Northern Capitals. So, 6 games over 2 days here at the Kin Arenas be occupied here for all these 3 teams. So, lots of hockey to speak of. And weekend after, on the 20th, 21st, and 22nd, U18s are home against the Thompson Blazers. Saturday and the Sunday, you've got the Teddy Bear Toss on the 21st against Thompson. That's a Saturday night in Kin number 1 at 6:30. And of course, the night before, you've got back-to-back alumni games featuring the Caribou Cougars and the Northern Capitals.
Yes, and the alumni game, highly anticipated. You've got former NHL player Brendan Manning coming to play in the alumni game for the Caribou Cougars, among many other names. You got Josh Connolly as well, who played a stint there. Not a stint, he played a few years there with the Kamloops Blazers, and then a stint with the Prince George Cougars before going off to UBC to go to school. And many, many other names, old, present, and fresh out of the Caribou Cougars program. So you get a lot of different generations in there. General Manager Trevor Sprague is always really proud to put on these alumni games and getting everybody together. It's gonna be a good time, and admission's free, and you're gonna see a lot of really fun hockey there. On the 20th, the Caps, they're playing at 3:30 in the CN Center, and then the Caribou Cougars at 6:30 in Kin 1.
Yeah, sadly, of course, the prospector, better known as Isaiah Vera, will not be taking part in the alumni game as a player. He'll be on the sidelines, but I'm sure it'll be very entertaining for him watching from the rink. Maybe we'll see him in his wrestling get-up gear before the game.
And little birdie told me that the prospector, Wes Barker, a.k.a. Isaiah Barra might be doing a bit of a presentation, a bit of a pre-show. I cannot confirm or deny, but a little bit of excitement and mystery heading into our alumni game on the 20th at 6:30 in Kinwan.
And that'll do it here for Hockey North Weekly. For my co-host Tyler Kroom, this is Brendan Palu signing off for another week here as we bring you all that the Northern BC hockey teams and players have to offer.